Welcome to Bridge Between the Worlds Retreat Center. My name is Margaretta McIlvaine, and we are very fortunate to have Dale Schusterman coming to visit us on November 13th for a family constellation workshop. And we would like to just ask him some questions to explain this incredible and powerful work that he'll be bringing to the center. So, hello, Dale. How are you?
Things are great here in North Carolina.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I would just like to ask you a few questions about this work that you've been doing for quite some time, and I was wondering if you could just explain to us what exactly is family constellation.
Certainly, I'd be happy to. I learned my first exposure to family constellations was in 1999, so I've had a little over a decade of experience with it, and it's a wonderful opportunity to learn how bonding works in families. And a constellation is usually done in a group, although it can be done in a one-on-one setting.
All right.
But in a group, what we do is we come together and someone presents an issue that they want to work on. And then people out of the group to represent family members. And then they take the family members and position them in the center of the room, and then they sit down. And they position, say, the mother and the father in a spatial relationship to each other. And then once the client sits down, then the people standing out there in the room, suddenly, it's quite remarkable how it occurs. They start taking on the dynamics of the relationship between those people. And so a family constellation is an opportunity to explore the effect of bonding and the dynamics that exist, very complex dynamics that exist in families, and how it impacts on people's health and well-being.
Well, that sounds fascinating. That sounds absolutely fascinating. Who developed family constellations?
The family constellations were developed by a man named Bert Hellinger, who's just celebrated his almost 86 years old. He's a German.
Okay.
He was a Jesuit priest for 16 years. Eventually left the priesthood to become a psychotherapist. But while he was ministering to the Zulu nation in South Africa as a headmaster of many schools, he observed the dynamics that happened between the children and the parents, and he observed family dynamics during that period and made some startling insights about how people relate to each other, what works and what doesn't work to support that love.
Oh, that's fascinating. And what exactly is a family system, and how does it relate to me, for example?
Okay. Well, what Bert Hellinger observed is that there's a certain group dynamics. In psychotherapy, you learn about group dynamics, but if you look at the ultimate group, it would be a family. And the family group would be you and your parents and their siblings, and then your grandparents and their siblings, and the great-grandparents and their siblings. It can go back further, but cousins generally don't impact into the family dynamics, but when they could, if someone injured one of your ancestors, say they murdered your great-grandfather or your great-uncle, then that person becomes bonded in as if they were an ancestor.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And if your family owns slaves, then the slaves that your family owned are bonded in like ancestors, and they have an impact on all the generations in that lineage, a very powerful impact. So this is what the system is, and the laws of group dynamics apply very strongly in these groups, but the group is back over generations.
Okay.
Understand that their group actually impact on their health and well-being.
Oh, okay. And what is the effect of bonding on a family?
Well, when let's explore what a bond is briefly. A bond is a feeling connection. It's really a deep soul feeling connection. And the strongest bonds we have are to mother and father, of course. There's no stronger. I mean, they gave us life, and nothing trumps that, really. So that's the strongest bond we have. But then, of course, our parents have similar bonds to their parents. So the bonds tie us together as a group, basically. Now, we also have bonds, every single one of them, even one-night stands, consensual or otherwise. Those all create bonds. And the other really powerful bonds are the effects of violence. So if a man goes to war, when he comes back, oftentimes, very seldom the same, because the powerful effect of losing comrades or having to take life, even in a war situation, very powerful bond, and that has a very dramatic impact. So the constellation is a great way to explore these bonds, and many of them are hidden. We don't, as we get older, we remember our first love or our first sexual encounter, which may not be the first love. We may have just written those people off, or we may have written off a former partner or former spouse. But if the bond persists nonetheless.
Okay.
Now, the neat thing about bonds is that if we try to get away from the person that we're bonded to, if we reject them from our consciousness, then the bond pulls tighter and their effect on us is even stronger.
Okay.
What heals a bond is when the heart opens and the person is included and accepted and the situation is accepted as it was. Mm-hmm. Very antithetical to the way most people operate and the way our culture is very vengeance-oriented and justice-oriented. But if you look at what dissolves bonds, it's always an opening of the heart. And that's what this work attempts to achieve, is finding a way to open the heart to include all those people that we're bonded with in a good way.
Oh, you've explained so clearly why bonding is so important. It sounds like it's essential.
Bonds are the container that we live in. And I'm a chiropractor by profession.
Oh, okay.
And all chronic problems have this bonding issue behind it. And you can give adjustments and supplements and acupuncture things, and you can do tapping and all the things that people do to balance themselves. Right. But if they don't deal with the bonding that's maybe not even their own doing, it may be between their grandfather and his former wife, who was rejected, or his first wife who died, or the child that they lost, or whatever bond is not dealt with, those consequences have dramatic impact on the fates of their descendants.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And how do people usually react when they're in a family constellation?
Well, there's two aspects to it.